Jury deliberations are set to begin today in the trial of 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights. Toe Tao, J. Alexander King, and Thomas Lane are standing trial in federal court. They're accused of depriving Floyd's right to medical care when former officer Derek Chauvin put his knee on Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes, murdering him. King and Tao are also charged with failing to intervene. Defense attorneys have argued the men were too inexperienced and were not trained properly. All 3 former officers have pleaded not guilty. And the trial begins today for former Kentucky police officer Brett Hankison, who was involved in the raid that killed Breonna Taylor. Hankison is charged with firing into a neighboring apartment while serving a no-knock warrant on Taylor's apartment in March 13th of 2020. He has pleaded not guilty. If convicted, he faces up to 5 years in prison. Host and legal analyst at Law and Crime Network, Terry Austin, joins me now for more on this case. Terry, opening statements begin today. So what do you expect to see in court this morning?
I think that the attorneys have already tipped their hat during the voir dire, and I expect the prosecution is going to call dozens of witnesses. They've actually said about 30 witnesses. Certainly, we're going to see all 3 of the officers on that stand, Cosgrove, Mattingly, and Hankison. Although Mattingly has said he's going to take the 5th, we do expect that his deposition will be shown. So the jury will be able to hear what he said, at least back at the time of the deposition. I think we're also going to see some firearms experts and instructors, and probably an expert on bullets and the trajectory of bullets. So I think we're going to have a number of witnesses. The defense has even said that they might visit the scene of the accident, so jurors can expect maybe to see that as well.
Now, Hankison is not being charged in relation to Breonna Taylor's actual death. He's being charged for firing into a neighboring apartment. But throughout the course of this trial, do you think we're going to learn more about what happened that day that ultimately led to Breonna's death?
I think we're going to hear lots of details, Diane, and we're going to get a play-by-play of exactly what happened. Where were all 3 of these officers? Where were they shooting? Were they shooting into the apartment of Breonna Taylor, or were they shooting into the other apartment? And yes, you're right, the 3 counts of felony wanton endangerment, those are serious charges. It could be up to 5 years for each of those charges. And what the jury is going to have to determine is whether or not Hankison was looking at this whole incident and whether he had an extreme indifference to the value of life. Did he create a substantial danger? That's what they're going to have to decide. Or was he acting the way he should have been acting when he was shooting 10 bullets into the neighboring apartment?
Now, Hankison was the only officer charged in relation to the events that took place that night. Throughout the course of this trial, as we learn more about what did happen last night, could that potentially lead to more charges more directly related to Breonna Taylor's death, or has that ship sailed?
Well, anything is possible, but we have heard that the Attorney General Cameron, he has basically said that the other officers were justified because Kenneth Walker, the boyfriend of Breonna Taylor, was shooting at them. And in fact, Mattingly was hit. And so the other 2 officers probably will not at this point get charges against them. But if this trial does reveal some additional information and the state determines that there might be able to be charges against them as well, that's a possibility. We know that Tamika, the mom, will be in that courtroom. She wants to make sure she has a presence. And so I think she's looking to see if there's other information as well that might come out at this trial.
Now, no-knock warrants have come under scrutiny again after 22-year-old Amir Locke was killed in a no-knock raid in Minneapolis on February 2nd. There's been, a lot of back and forth over whether this was actually, meaning the Breonna Taylor raid, whether it was actually a no-knock raid or not. But do you think this trial could have an impact on the future of no-knock warrants, given how much attention this case has drawn to them?
Absolutely. I mean, we've already seen in Kentucky the Breonna law, and that absolutely has changed what an officer can do, whether they can knock and whether or not they have to announce themselves. And I do think that it will change in other states as well. And you mentioned Amir Locke. frankly, I think officers have to be trained to assess that situation before the bullets start to fire, regardless of whether they knock or they don't knock. I think obviously they should be knocking, they should be announcing, but it should be very limited if they don't.
All right, Terry Austin, always great to have your analysis, Terry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.